Hello and welcome to another pen video from me, Penultimate Dave. So I have here another 10 pens currently inked this week. I think let's go through these briefly one by one. We'll go through them in a little bit more detail and then we'll do a writing sample. So from left to right we have a Yardo lead, and this is the Grand Viceroy, and this is in the Victorian. We have a Yardo lead Grand, and this is in the Barley or Barley corn. We have a Visconti Chatterley Luxuries Southwest. We have a Ryan Krusac Legend 16, and this is in the Dragon Slayer. We have a Taccia Miyabi's Winter's Breath. We have a Visconti St Basil, a Visconti Medici Il Magnifico in the red marble. We have a Visconti Luxor Obelisk. We have a Classic Pens LB5 in the Kouseki, and we have a Benu Euphoria in the Bourbon. So I think let's take a look at these pens in a little bit more detail. So this is a newer pen that I have added to my collection, and this is, it wasn't new to me, or I guess it is new to me. It wasn't brand new. It was a used pen that I purchased. It was in somebody else's collection. I got it for a very good deal. This is the Yardo lead, and this is the Victorian, and it is made out of solid silver, so AG925. It is obviously a pen that is going to tarnish, and you can polish this up. And I probably will polish this up on a regular basis when I notice it tarnishing more. I do like this pattern. This pattern actually has over 3,000 manual strikes from a silversmith, and they hammer in that lovely Victorian pattern there. Now, it is a weighty pen. It comes in around about 60 grams in weight. It comes with a fine Yardo lead number 6 size, 18 karat gold nib. Now, this is a cartridge converter, and I can show you that here as well. You'll see that it is almost out of ink because I have been writing with this a lot. It is a beautiful pen. It is a heavy pen. You can post the cap if you want to, but it does make it a bit back weighted. Even though the cap is fairly light, I would say, compared to the body here of the pen. A beautiful pen, really a good size in my hand, and I do like that size, and I do like the weight. It is a push clip. Typically, I'm not a fan of the click-on clips, the push clips. I do prefer threaded caps. However, I understand probably the reason why that they did this, being solid silver as well. I do kind of think that there might be wear and tear on that click mechanism over time, and certainly this one is a little bit more looser than perhaps I would like, but it is what it is, and I will see. Like Yardo lead do actually do repairs, so I might look at actually seeing if they could do something to make that clip a little stronger so it doesn't come off accidentally. The next pen here, again, is another Yardo lead, and this is the Grand in the Barley, or sometimes you see it called the Barley corn. It does look a little bit like a barley corn, and I have to say again, this is another beautiful pen, solid silver, again around 60 grams in weight, so this is a weighty pen, solid silver AG925. So again, it is going to tarnish over time. Now this does have a clip that is much more stronger on it to try and pull off. Again, it has a number 6 size Yardo lead nib and 18 karat gold nib. This is a medium nib, and I have to say I do prefer the medium. It does come with the old green style converter as well. These do have an O-ring on them. It's not for really eyedroppering, but it's just to sort of slow that connection down when you're screwing it on and making it a much tighter connection. So that is certainly an interesting thing. I've seen it on other metal threaded pens as well, like the Parker Duofold. Prestiges have them on there as well. I think it just helps for the closing mechanism there. Can I post a cap on this one? Yeah, I can as well. Again, it is a bit back weighted though, so it's not something I typically would want to do. And again, you can hear there is a much louder click. I will see how this tarnishes, and I will probably at some point sort of clean the pen to polish it and remove any such tarnish from the pen. I typically don't like tarnished silver, so it will be interesting to see. I've got Montegrappas that have silver sections. I have Viscontis that have silver sections that have not tarnished, although the Viscontis typically are plated with a vermeil of palladium, 23 cat palladium, whereas the Montegrappas are typically solid silver, so they will tarnish, but I haven't had them tarnish much so far. I think maybe I actually live in a part of the world, a part of the country where you're not going to see a huge amount of tarnishing over maybe a year or two. So I think from that perspective, it's fairly good. So maybe I won't see that much of a tarnish. I certainly haven't on some of my other pens. The next pen here is a beautiful Visconti. It's a Chatterley Luxuries exclusive. It's a Southwest, and this is made out of celluloid. It's made out of the same celluloid as in the Speakeasy and also the St Basil as well. A lovely celluloid with a mix of blues, blacks, reds, and maybe a hint of purple in there as well. Beautiful pen. Glad I picked this up when I did. Came in, I think, 2 trims. I think it's a yellow gold trim and a ruthenium coated trim. I didn't think the ruthenium coated trim looked as nice, so I went for this gold trim instead, and I absolutely love this pen. So you'll see here it's got a newer Visconti 18 cat gold nib there, in-house nib, and it is a medium number 6 size nib. It's a power vac filler. It's a single reservoir. Can I post the cat? Yes, I can as well. Post quite securely and deeply. It unfortunately is, I believe now long sold out. Is 28 pens in this trim and 28 pens in the ruthenium trim. So typically, if you see these Chatterley Luxuries exclusives, they're normally less than 30 pens per each trim colour. So you do need to try and get those fairly quickly because they do sell out fairly quickly, unfortunately. The next pen was a pen I bought really as my birthday pen this year in 2022, and this is a beautiful pen made by Ryan Krusac. And this Ryan Krusac is a custom pen maker in the US, and he makes a lot of wood pens. The cap here is made of wood, and it has some dragon scales, because this is the Legend 16 Dragon Slayer. So you can see a beautiful dragon there, fire-breathing dragon, and the Slayer as well. Although I don't think he's doing a very good job at slaying that dragon. Now, as I understand it, and this is quite amazing, that Ryan actually drew this himself, and I believe he does this on a computer, and then he uses a laser etching process. So this is actually a raw antler, and he then laser etches all of this in his drawing onto the antler for the pen. Now, this is a really, really nice pen for sure. It comes with a Ryan Krusac number 6 size steel nib. It's a Yovo nib with RK Ryan Krusac logo on it. It's a medium nib. It's also a cartridge converter pen, and I can show you that here as well. There you go. It's a cartridge converter. I have it inked up with an orange ink at the moment, and have to say that I am liking this pen a lot. So I do like that pen, and I honestly would like to get another Ryan Krusac pen, and I already have my eyes on another model that would appeal to me and would probably go nicely with this one as well. So maybe at some point I will pull the trigger and maybe get one, but we'll see. I'm in no hurry at this moment in time. I have also bought a lot of pens through the summer of 2022, and I say that with a big sigh because I have bought a lot of pens, and these were pens that I wasn't going to purchase, and they were just pens that came available, and sometimes you have to be in the right place at the right time, and I was, and I bought a bunch of pens, and that's just the way it went. So the next pen here is a beautiful pen, and this was my birthday the previous year, I think 2021. This is the Taccia Miyabi Winter's Breath. Beautiful pen. It's a maquillé, it's a Ardent. Ardent is a technique of layering the abalone shell onto a body of a pen, and also the white is crushed quail's eggs. They crush the eggs and then they try to glue them all back together again. Clearly, they're not going to get it exactly, but they do this beautiful pattern. It must take, I want to say hours, but this must be hundreds of hours per pen to painstakingly glue all of that back together. It's a beautiful pen, a beautiful work of art. And I have to say, I am in awe with this pen. Now, you do have there the quail's eggs as well on the section there. And you have, on this one, it's a number 6 size. And this is a Taccia nib made by Sailor. Now, it looks quite small on this pen because it's a large pen. They have now made the Empress version, or Emperor. I think it's Empress of this pen, which then has a number 8 size nib, which probably would actually work a lot better, I think, or look a lot better on this pen. But I still like this. I love that pen a lot, and if I had the extra money, I probably would, and if the model was available at the time, I probably would have gone for the Empress version of the pen with the number 8 size nib. But I think it was about another £800 more, which, to be honest, I honestly don't see the value in just by going from a number 6 to a number 8 size nib. I think there were a few other changes to the pen. Maybe it was a little larger as well, but still £800 or $800 is still a lot more money just to have a larger nib size, essentially. The next pen here that I have inked up this week is the Visconti St Basil, and I mentioned that this pen here had the same celluloid material, and it does. It's identical, but you can see the size difference in these pens. So this St Basil is a massive honker of a pen, but I have to say I absolutely love this pen. So it has this gold inlay there of St Basil, and it is a beautiful pen. It is a power vac filling mechanism. It is a double reservoir. I've locked that off at the moment, and you do have screw threads, not hook safe lock, and it does have the 23 cat palladium nib there, and it is a medium nib, so that is an interesting nib for sure. But I have to say, I do like this pen, and it is a beauty of a pen. The next pen I have inked up this week is the Visconti Medici Il Magnifico. You have the fleur de lis here on the cap. It's made of solid silver, AG925. The piston or power vac knob is also solid silver, and you have solid marble as the body. This weighs around 80 grams in weight. It's not a light pen, but it's a beautiful pen. The section also is solid silver, have the hook safe lock mechanism, and you have the older Visconti 23 cat palladium nib. That's a medium nib with an ABS plastic feed. Again, beautiful pen. I love it a lot. And I have to say, I like the weight of that pen. It just feels right in my hand for some reason. The next pen here I have is a beautiful pen. It has the R or RA logo there. This is the Visconti Luxor Obelisk, and this is a beautiful work of art. So this is a Urushi lacquered pen in black Urushi there. So its base is going to be ebonite. So it's not heavy, it's not light, but it's also, it does feel lightish, and I can feel that the cap feels more weightier because of this metal clip here as well. But you have this beautiful maquillé going on here on the cap and the body there. Absolutely beautiful, beautiful design. And I am absolutely glad I was able to pick this up when I did. It's a power vac filler. It's a double reservoir that I've locked off at the moment. And it is a older 23 cat Visconti Palladium nib. It's a medium nib with an ABS plastic feed. It's just a beautiful pen. Can I post the cap? No, it will not. It will not physically go on because the cap inside is round and the body is more square. But this is a beautiful pen to write with. I love writing with it. It's got a lovely nib on there as well. So for me, it's a pen I've not written with a lot lately, and I need to get back into writing with more because it's a really good classic pen. Talking of classic pens, this is the Classic Pens LB5, and this is in the Kouseki. So this is essentially a pen that's made by Sailor for classic pens, or Lambrou, Andy Lambrou. And this is larger than a King of Pen by about, I think about half a centimetre. And it's slightly more girthier, I would say. But the material here is actually a material called diffusion bonded acrylic. And this is a beautiful material. Basically, they take sheets of this colour that has variance and they compress it all together to such a weight, to such a degree that the material fuses together, and that creates diffusion bonded acrylic. Beautiful, beautiful material. It all feels smooth because it's been polished and sanded. It does come with a Sailor King of Pen nib, and this is a medium. So Sailor King of Pen nibs, because it's an Asian nib, a medium would be a little bit more like a fine or a medium to fine. It does also have a cartridge converter there as well. Beautiful pen. Can I post the cap on this? I can. Post deeply, post securely. I honestly wish Sailor would do another collaboration with Andy Lambrou. It's never going to happen. I'm pretty sure it's never going to happen. But this is a beautiful pen. I also have this in the red KN as well. I'd like it in other colours. The prices on that pen now have gone through the roof. So to try and pick up a different colour version of that pen now would cost me literally an arm and a leg. So I probably wouldn't buy one unless it was a reasonable price. But they are beautiful pens to write with and to admire. Now, the last pen I have here is a Benu Euphoria, and this is the Bourbon. And I have to say that when I had a bunch of Benu pens, I think it was January, February this year, to review from Derek at Stonecott Fine Writing Supplies, he sent me this pen as well. And there were a couple of pens I wanted, and I decided I'd only buy one at the time, and this was one of them. It's a beautiful pen. I love the colouring on it. I do have 3 other Benus, the Scepters, and I do like those, but I do like the larger Benus, especially with the number 6 style sort of size nib. This is a fine nib as well, and it's a Schmidt nib. These are cartridge converter pens. Can you post the cap? Yes, you can. You can post it quite deeply, fairly securely as well. I think these are nice pens. They are steel nibs though, they're not gold nibs, but sometimes a steel nib writes just as good as a gold nib, sometimes even better. So that's my 10 currently ink pens for this week. I think let's now go and do a writing sample. So the first pen here is the Yardo Lead. So we will do an ink swatch. Now, this is a fine nib, and it does sing a little bit on Oxford Optic paper. I don't see that on Temuray River paper, and I've been writing a lot with it on Temuray River recently. So this is the Yard O Lead, and it is the Grand Victorian. Now, I did actually smooth the nib out, and I did smooth it out to 12,000 grit. Maybe I'll smooth it out a bit more. Maybe I'll even use Mylar paper as well. So I will see about that. But I don't write so much in Oxford Optic paper. It's normally Temuray River paper that I will write in. So that doesn't really bother me too much. So it's it's an 18 cat gold nib. And then the ink in here is Noodlers. And it is Habanero, which sometimes looks more orangey or brighter red in some pens. In this pen, it looks a little bit more of a brown colour. The next pen is a Yard OLED. Again, it's a Grande and it's the Barley. So we'll do an ink swatch. And you can see there that this has a really nice colour green ink. So this is the Yard O Lead Grand, and it is the Barley. It is a medium 18 cat gold nib. And then the ink in here is Rohrer and Klinger, and it's Verdura, which is quite a nice sort of shade of green. The next pen is the Visconti Chatterley Luxuries Southwest. So we'll do an ink swatch. And this is quite a wet writing nib. So this is the Visconti Chatterley Luxuries Southwest, and it is a medium 18 cat gold nib. Just get that on there. And the ink in here is Mont Blanc Corn Poppy Red, which is a beautiful red ink. I do like that ink a lot. The next pen is the Ryan Krusac Legends 16 in the Dragon Slayer. So we'll do an ink swatch. Now, I'm not normally a fan of Yovo medium nibs. I typically prefer broad nibs from Yovo. Certainly on the steel nibs anyway. So this is the Ryan Krusac Legend 16 in the Dragon Slayer. And this has a medium, and it is a steel Yovo nib. Now the ink in here is Noodlers, Apache, Sunset. Now, I might actually just put a regular broad Yovo nib in there. If and when I do actually buy my next Ryan Krusac pen, I may just get that with a broad nib, and I may even actually just say to him, hey, look, can you just add a extra broad nib as well? Because I might actually prefer the broad nib slightly better. I got the fine nib actually, the medium nib, because I wanted to write more with it in notebooks and that, and that's perfectly fine. But I do more prefer a broad nib from Yovo. The next pen is the Taccia Miyabi's Winter's Breath. So we'll do an ink swatch. Now, I find that this actually is a fairly good writer, although I do find sometimes it's a little bit more drier with this ink. So this is the Taccia Miyabi Winter's Breath. And this is actually a broad, and it's an 18 cat gold nib. And then the ink in here is Pelican, Edelstein, and it is Topaz. The next pen is the Visconti St Basil. So we'll do an ink swatch. And this also is a very wet writing nib. And I do like this writing experience a lot. So this is the Visconti St Basil. It is a medium and it is a 23 cat palladium nib. And then the ink in here is again Mont Blanc. And it is Corn Poppy Red. But you can see the difference in this Corn Poppy Red and this one. It does dry a different colour. So that's one thing just to bear in mind with Corn Poppy Red, is that the colour that you see when you're writing with it isn't necessarily going to be the same colour once it's dry. The next pen is the Visconti Medici Il Magnifico, and this is in the red marble. So we'll do an ink swatch. And again, this is quite a wet writing nib. I do love how this nib writes, and also how the ink writes as well. So this is the Visconti Medici Il Magnifico in the red marble. And it is a medium and it's a 23 cat palladium nib. And then the ink in here is Pelican, Edelstein, and it is Star Ruby, which is a beautiful pink ink. The next pen is the Visconti Luxor Obelisk. So we'll do an ink swatch. And this is a really beautiful writing nib as well. Again, a 23 cat palladium nib. I just love those nibs. It's a shame Visconti have now stopped manufacturing them. So this is the Visconti and it's the Luxor Obelisk. And it is a medium 23 cat palladium nib. And then the ink in here is Rohrer and Klinger. And I just need to have a look. The spelling, it is Blue Mare. So blue without an E. But again, a beautiful writing pen and a beautiful writing ink. The next pen is a Classic Pens LB5 Kouseki. And we'll do an ink swatch here. And I do like these Sailor King of pen nibs. They do have a bit of bounce to them. And I have to say that I am a fan of that bounce. So this is the classic pens LB5 in the Kouseki. And it is a medium, although it's more writing like a fine because it's an Asian nib. And it's a 21 karat gold nib. So Sailor nibs typically will be 21 karat, or at least the larger nibs will be. And then the ink in here is Pilot Iroshizuku, and it is Sakushi, which is a lovely brown ink. One that's been discontinued by, unfortunately, Pilot more recently. And then the last pen is a Benu Euphoria in the Bourbon. So we'll do an ink swatch here. And this is actually quite a wet writing nib for a fine nib. So I don't normally go for fine nibs, but when I find a nib that writes well, I will go for it. So this is the Benu Euphoria, and this is the Bourbon. And this is a fine, and it is it's a Schmidt nib. And then the ink in here is Diamine Ochre, which is a beautiful brown ink for me. I do like it a lot. It's one of my go-to brown inks. So I think let's take a look at these pens inked up one more time. So we have a Yada Lead Grand Victorian in a fine 18 karat gold nib inked up with Noodler's Habanero. We have a Yada Lead Grand Barley in a medium 18 karat gold nib inked up with Rora and Klinger Verdura. We have a Visconti Chatterley Luxuries Southwest in a medium 18 karat gold nib inked up with Mont Blanc Corn Poppy Red. We have a Ryan Krusac Legends 16 in the Dragon Slayer in a medium steel nib inked up with Noodler's Apache Sunset. We have a Taccia Miyabi Winter's Breath in a broad 18 karat gold nib inked up with Pelican Edelstein Topaz. We have a Visconti St Basil in a medium 23 karat palladium nib inked up with Mont Blanc Corn Poppy Red. We have a Visconti Medici Il Magnifico in the red marble in a medium 23 karat palladium nib inked up with Pelican Edelstein Star Ruby. We have a Visconti Luxor Obelisk in a medium 23 karat palladium nib inked up with Rora and Klinger Blue Mare. We have a Classic Pens LB5 Kouseki in a medium 21 karat gold nib inked up with Pilot Iroshizuku Sakushi. And then last but not least, we have a Benu Euphoria in the Bourbon in a fine steel nib inked up with Diamine Ochre. So there you have it. That's my currently inked pens for this week. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next pen video. Bye bye.